I don't know how to record it. I don't know if you can record it. I don't know.
Oh, we are recording it.
Oh, okay. Ebony's recording it, Dad.
Oh, okay. I see Ebony and her husband.
Yes.
Hi, Justin.
Hi.
How you doing?
You look so good, Uncle BJ. And you look beautiful,
Y'all look
Aunt Carolyn.
Thank you, darling.
And Micah.
Everybody.
Micah in an attic? A thrift store?
First of all, it's my attic. He's just borrowing it.
First of all, I made this place mine.
Are you in Queens or are you in upstate? Gotcha.
Huh?
City, not going back up there.
I hear your father is trying to build rocket ships and stuff.
He's trying to build a rocket stove, man. Like you've been doing that for months.
Just
Like-
telling them about the hillbilly jacuzzi. He wants to put a cast iron tub inside of his rickety wood trailer and then put a gas propane tank underneath it and boil himself alive.
He wants to blow the house up every chance he gets.
Pretty much.
It's a miracle he has it.
It is.
That's so funny. How are you guys doing?
We're
doing good.
How's everyone?
Jazzy just texted me.
My spine hurts.
Hold on.
No, we're hanging. We're still unpacking. But getting there, you know.
I see the plan.
You got all moved in?
Okay, all no.
Wait,
We still have some like.
tour?
Oh yeah, you guys want to take the tour?
Yes.
Or
Hi, you know how to get in?
It's a little messy.
It is again. We are still unpacking, so
I sent you a picture of. I can send you the actual email if you want me to. Then you just go to your email and click on the link. So hold on a second. I'll send you the actual email.
Okay.
I just did.
Okay, what's your email address?
Jacqueline Jones, 21 at AOL.
All right, he's gonna give it tour. So we are currently in his office that is like filled with boxes. There's me. Josie.
At AOL?
So to the left here is the bathroom down here. So it's nice. We can like not see each other during the day.
I just sent it.
It's like you're working. Use the bathroom down there. But no, it's nice. It's cute.
That looks adorable. I love the shower.
This is storage right now, but we need to find a home for everything.
Nice.
So there's that.
Wait, which floor are we on? Start from the bottom or the top?
We're starting in the basement. Yeah. Hey, Mom. Justin's giving a tour. This is the kitchen.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Is that have an island? Because I love it.
I love
it. Do it. The plants were moved in first. They're all there.
Yes. I couldn't trust the movers.
That is Tony.
Yes.
That's Tony right there.
Pantry. We're getting some shelves put in there because like a lot of dead space.
Wow.
And this is the kitchen / living room area.
So much room for activities.
I know.
Mike is gonna put on socks and slide through your entire.
Literally, that's what I was thinking.
Outside.
I like your view.
Thank you.
You guys are at the end of the block, right?
Yep, we got it. I love it. Because like the lots are bigger. Oh, that's Justin's baby.
Oh.
He's so in love with that TV.
You guys didn't get rid of them all?
No, so we got rid of one of them.
Only one.
What?
But it like, because it would turn off and on. It was just like a mess. So that's gone. Like a linen closet that we're still filling out. This is the spare bedroom.
Oh, so my room. Okay.
Yep. Closet is behind them.
Worst game system ever made, connected to the TV. That's amazing.
He just passed the laundry room, but the washer and dryer aren't there yet. This is the like second floor bathroom.
It's just moved.
A nice soak-in tub. I've been taking a lot of baths, so it's been nice.
That's fantastic.
This is my plant room.
Yes.
Most of them are not there, but you know. That is the room. Get some nice western light.
Okay.
It's very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Look at them high ceilings.
Yeah, I think the ceilings are, I think they're like 11 or 12 feet. So yeah, we were feeling so claustrophobic after just being like locked in one place for a year.
It's like, no.
So, yeah, we're like, okay, let's get what we want to do. What are our needs, you know? So this, we are going up to the 3rd floor. Hey, Jazz. This is like a little patio that I want to grow some vegetables on, Emma. I will be asking you all the questions.
Hey. I thought about you today. I saw fresh herbs. At
Oh.
Hey, Keisha.
Hey, Jackie.
Keisha,
Hi.
hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
That's Freddie's daughter.
Yeah.
Freddie's daughter.
And then this is our master bedroom. That's where most of the Hoyas are, obviously.
Jeez, Eb, how many plants you got?
I have like 100 Hoyas and probably about 100 other plants. So a lot.
Taylor's daughter. That's Big Freddie's daughter.
And then that's a closet. That's another closet.
Hey, Ronnie, that's you?
And shower.
Nice.
I think we got Ronnie coming on.
Hey, Ronnie.
There go Ronnie right there. Ronnie, can you hear me? Hit your audio button. Hit your audio button.
I think it says he's trying to connect now. Ooh, Micah, get ready.
Oh, wow. We upgraded, huh? We got the new bags, huh?
We lost the other ones, so we had to break down and buy them. And then there's the roof.
Is that Michael? Is that Michael coming?
Ronnie, you there?
Is that Michael?
Ronnie, you might have to connect your audio. I don't think we can hear you.
Ronnie, we can't hear you, Ronnie.
I'm unmuted.
Oh, okay, there you go,
Awesome.
Ronnie. That's Uncle Freddie's son.
There is a lot of space there to be Justin at Cornhole.
So much.
All
So
right.
much.
We might as well get started. And anybody else that comes in, they can come in. I'll tell them the rules. If you want to call it rules, it's not really rules, but I'm gonna do the best I can in coordinating the situation so that we can get all the questions in that y'all want to ask Dad. Dad, can you hear me? Dad, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, let me let you know who's on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
You got Ebony and Justin on. You got Mariano.
I saw Ebony, I saw her husband.
You got Mariano, Ray Jr.'s
I saw
oldest
Mariano.
son. You got Micah, Ray Jr.'s oldest son. You got Tony on,
I saw him.
Ebony's mom. You got Jasmine, my
I saw Tony, and I saw Ronnie.
You got Jasmine on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Your granddaughter. You got Ronnie on. That's Ronnie, Uncle Freddie's daughter. And then you got Keisha down in Florida, Big Freddie's daughter. Okay. So now, what we gonna do, Dad, I'm gonna pick a person. They're gonna ask you 2 questions before I go to the next person, all right?
Wait, what?
Okay.
I have a question. If we want something like explained a little more or like expanded, can we like jump in on someone else's question and ask?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
All right. So, Dad, I'm gonna go first, but it's not really a question. It's more like me asking you yes or no, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, your name is Benjamin Jones. We all know that. You had 3 brothers, correct?
I had 3 brothers. Ray, Freddie and Furman, the one you were named after.
Right. So you had Ray Jones, Freddie Jones, and Ferdinand, right?
No, his name was Furman. Furman.
Oh, his name was Furmangle.
Mangle Jones.
Okay. And then you have one sister, correct?
Yeah, I have one sister that I call my sister. She was my first cousin. That was Raymond's mother, Ruth.
No. Not on Ruth now. The other sister. The other sister you had.
Oh, that was Lena.
That was
She
Lena.
was named Lena. She died from tuberculosis when she was 16 years old.
Right. And Lena was your sister through marriage, correct?
Huh?
Lena was your sister, but not your father's daughter, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Right. That was my mother's daughter.
Okay. So now I got it. You had Lena was your mother's daughter, and you had 3 brothers. So it's 4 boys altogether, right?
Right.
And then your father's
See
name-
now, okay, I gotta correct that one word now. It was 5 of us because I had a twin, but he died when he was a baby.
That's correct. That's correct.
My name was Benjamin Joseph, and his name was Benjamin Jacob, and he died.
Okay.
He died when he was 3 months old.
Okay. And your father's name was Alfred Jones, which is my grandfather.
Alfred.
And your mother's
Right.
name was Charlotte, right?
That's right.
Okay. So now I'm gonna start off there with Ebony. She's gonna ask you the first of her 2 questions. Ebony, go
Okay.
ahead.
Wait, does anyone else want to go first? I was gonna kind of like
Okay, you want me to choose someone else?
do it off the cuff a little.
Justin, would you like to start?
Sure.
All right, go ahead, Justin.
Hey, BJ. I guess.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. It's nice to see you.
You're good to see you, man. You look good.
Thank you. Thank you. I think my question is easy. I would love to hear a little bit about your parents. I don't think I'm familiar with your parents and like your lineage and anything, I guess, before you were born. Anything like that, I'd love to learn a little bit about.
My father, who was named Alfred Jones, was a sawmill worker. He had worked in sawmills all of his life from the time he was about 14, 15 years old. He always worked in sawmills. He was working in a sawmill when he met my mother. He was working on a sawmill on a place called Elizabeth, Louisiana. And they built a sawmill in the middle of the swamp in Louisiana, and it was in a little place called Miles, M-I-L-E-S. But it don't exist anymore because when the sawmill left, the town went blank. There was nothing left of it. So now the closest place to there is called Elizabeth, Louisiana. That's where I was born. Now, he met my mother. My mother wasn't from Elizabeth. She was from a plantation in Louisiana in a little place called Dairy, spelled dairy, like if you said dairy, milk, butter, eggs, Dairy, Louisiana. And she was born on a plantation called Magnolia. That plantation is still there. They made a museum out of it. The slave houses is still there, and the master's house is still there. And the people visit it, and they have a record book. I'm going there sometime this year or next year. Now, my father met my mother on that plantation. And her name at that time was Charlotte Ricks, R-I-C-K-S. That was her name. Now, my father moved her from that plantation and he moved her to Mavs, Louisiana. And that's where they was married at. And she had one daughter named Lena. I have a picture of her. Got it here, and I sent it to Furman one time. I don't know if Furman still got it. And I sent it to your Aunt Carolyn. She got a picture of her. Okay. Now, my father and my mother had 5 kids. Now, that was Freddie, Fernham, who Furman is named after. And there was Ray Jones, who was Dolores' husband. And there was me and my twin brother who died when he was 3 months old. Now, that was the 5 kids she had by my father. Now, I'm going to try to tell her a little bit, Furman, about Ruth was her Ebony's father.
Wait, Dad, don't bring on Ruth there. That might be a different question.
Well,
Okay.
I was gonna actually ask him to expand on that to know what the connection was, so.
You want him to expand now? You want him to
Yeah,
expand
I mean, we
now?
might as well do it now, right?
Okay, so Dad, you can go ahead and expand into Aunt Ruth so that you can bring the correlation of Taylor and Jones together.
Okay. Well, now I wanted to bring in a part about Ruth because, see, Ruth was there with my mother. My mother was Ruth's aunt. See, Ruth wasn't my sister, but they raised us as sisters and brothers. That's why we always call your Aunt Ruth and Ebony's Raymond's mother, we call her our sister because we were raised as brothers and sisters. But she was really my first cousin. But she lived with my mother. Now, I don't know what happened to Ruth's mother. I don't know if she died when Ruth was young, but my mother raised Ruth. My mother and father raised Ruth. Okay?
Was Ruth
Now-
older or younger than you?
Huh?
Was
Repeat that?
Was Ruth older or was she younger than you?
She was older than me.
So you don't really
Ruth
remember
was-
a time that she wasn't there as a
She
kid?
was older than any of us. When my father first met Ruth, met my mother had Ruth.
Mm,
That was her niece.
got it.
Okay?
And
Now,
Ruth,
I'm
Ruth was
tell you a little
older.
bit.
Ruth
She was older than
all of
Freddie.
y'all. Older than all
She
of
was
y'all.
older than all of us.
Okay, got you.
Uh-huh. And when my father met my mother, she had Ruth and Lena. But Lena was her daughter. And Ruth was her niece.
I got you.
Gotcha. Do you
So
know who
my
her father
father-
was?
Huh?
Did you know who Ruth's father was?
I can tell you who they told me her father was, but I never knew him. He was a white man.
Hmm.
Okay, and his name was Joe Kane.
Mm,
And he owned a store in a place called Little River. That's in Louisiana. That's out from Natchitoches. And he was a white man, but they never really recognized him as being her father, but that was her father. And she knew that was her father and, so forth and so on. But you know how it was at that time. They didn't recognize a white man having a daughter by a black woman. But that man was her father. Now, that was told to me by my father.
mm.
Okay, but he was never recognized as her father. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but I never knew who Ruth's mother was. They never talked about her. They never said that she died or what happened to her. So I really don't know who Ruth's mother was. All I know is my mother and father raised Ruth. That's why I always call her my sister.
Gotcha.
And we lived like that all our lives. That she was my sister, and my kids called her Aunt Ruth. So that's all I can say about that. She was Aunt Ruth. Now Raymond's father, I'm gonna tell you how Raymond's father met Ruth. Raymond's father, when he got old enough to go to work, my Aunt Ellen sent him to Mabs. Well, my father was working in the sawmill, and my father got him a job in the sawmill. Okay. My father had Nathaniel, which we call him Bubba. That was Raymond's father. He was living in the house with my father working, and my father was raising Ruth.
Now,
And my father,
Dad, hold on. Uncle Bubba was Raymond and Big Freddie's father.
that's right.
All right, you said Raymond. That's Raymond and Freddie's
Big Freddie was older. Big Freddie was older than Raymond.
All right, yes, he was. Okay.
So that Nathaniel was their father and Ruth was their mother.
Right, right. But Uncle Bubba's first name was Nathaniel.
They called him Uncle Bubba. We always call him Bubba.
Right.
I don't know how people get that name, Bubba. You know, they just call you Bubba. But his name was Nathaniel Taylor.
And he
His
was
name
tall.
was Nathaniel.
And he was tall.
All of those guys were tall. Bubba was tall. All of them was tall. Even the girls was tall. Alberta and your Aunt Sarah, Maggie Lee, it was all tall. And they was big women, big men, but they all had good shapes. You know, they were, if you wanted to talk about it, you would say, well, they must have came from a tribe from Africa who was very tall, very slim, good athletes. You know what I mean? That's the way they were, all of them.
Square shoulders.
Right, but my dad was tall.
Yeah, he was.
See, my dad was 6'2". And he wore 15 shoes. Now, me and Ray and Freddie, we never grew as tall as Bubba and Ferdinand and them because my mother was only 5 feet tall. So we took some of the height after our mother, but we take height after our daddy. Now, your brother Darius took height after my father.
Right. Darius was 6'2.5".
Right. You see, now he took it from that side of the family. Well, you took your height from my mother's side.
Right.
You see what I mean?
All right.
Okay.
Wait now. Justin, question number 2.
I can pass it around. Somebody else should go next.
Okay.
I got a great answer on my first one.
Okay, great. All right. Mariama, your turn.
Yeah, I'm curious. I know our family is from Louisiana, but Uncle BJ, do you know how we got there? Like, how did we end up in Louisiana?
How Ruth ended up in Louisiana?
No, how did all of you wind up in Louisiana? You were born there?
Who, me?
All of you were born in Louisiana?
I was born in Louisiana.
Well, yeah.
I was born in Elizabeth.
Did Grandpa Alfred, great Grandpa Alfred, did he move to Louisiana or was he born there? And then his wife.
He was from Louisiana.
Or did she get?
He was born.
Your father.
My father's father was born. Okay, let me tell you straight. My father's father, his name was Elbert Jones, Elbert, Elbert Jones. And he was born on a plantation called Bobooby. And Bobooby, that's the African name. Okay, that's what the slaves called the plantation, Bobooby.
That was it.
But
that was in Louisiana.
That was in Louisiana. That's where he was born. Yes. And my father's mother was an Indian who was born somewhere on an Indian reservation, but I don't know where that was. But my father's mother was an Indian, and her name was Ellen, the same as Ellen that raised me was named after her. And she,
Okay.
all I know was that she was very dark skinned and she was Indian. Now you see the long hair that Sarah had and Albert had and Ellen had, that come from the fact that they had Indian in them. And the high cheekbones. You understand?
Okay, so to
And-
answer Mariama's question, all of you were born, as far as your siblings and grandpa, all of y'all started in Louisiana.
In Louisiana, we all were born in Louisiana.
Okay.
I don't know of anybody. Okay, I guess I gotta go a little further with that. See, my father had a sister named Ellen. He had a sister named Claudia. I'm sending Tony those pictures of them. And I got them all packed up, and you tell Tony that I'm sending him all those pictures. See, and my father had a sister named Ellen. He had a sister named Claudia. He had a brother named Henry, and a brother named Nolan, and he had another brother. I can't think of his name right now, but I'll get it for you. See, my father had about 7 brothers and sisters. And they had a lot of kids. From Milton had 21 kids. Henry had 18 kids. My father had 5. And Ellen had 7 kids. Well, she had more than that because 3 of them died from the plague. When the disease came out, something like the virus that comes out here, that killed 2 of her kids.
Like
Okay.
COVID, like the COVID virus.
Like COVID, but they call it something else. I can't think of what they call that disease now. Malaria.
This wasn't like anything like the Spanish flu or anything, right?
Huh?
Do you know like about what year this would be? The
What
like
year that happened in, I was very small at that time. I don't even know if I was born when her 3 kids died.
Mhm.
All I know is she took me when my mother died, and I was only 5 years old then. So that might have been before I was born.
And
My
when-
Ellen told me these stories.
Yeah,
She used to tell me the story about when each. I was born in 1934, so this happened before 1934. But she used to tell us this story about how the 3 kids died from malaria and how she buried them herself. She just took them to the graveyard. She buried them on her own place, on that 40 acres of land that Leon had. That was her first husband. She buried those kids herself.
All right.
She also told me a story about how she outside and waited for the kid to die, and she went out there and prayed, and when she come back, the kid was dead. There were some stories that ain't so pleasant in this family, but they have to be told.
Okay. Amma, you got your second question.
I don't have one just yet. I just
Okay,
have
all right, I'll come back to you. Micah, your turn.
Emma actually took my first question. Yeah, that's about
So you,
oh yeah.
Michael, get back
But I was, sorry?
look, this like a-
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
he got-
Go ahead.
Micah, so you don't have a question, Micah?
No, I got my second one.
All right, go ahead.
Know about sort of like the family's past, as far as like I heard a little bit about bootlegging and then running alcohol back in the old days. So I want to see if we had any further info on that.
And stories on running alcohol. My father used to make liquor. You know, I guess you'd have to get a read up on how they made liquor. They made liquor in a barrel, and they would take corn and oats and stuff, and they'd make this mash, and they had some way where they distilled it and they made it into liquor. My father used to sell liquor. My father used to do a lot of things. I remember my father having a gambling shack. And on the weekend, he would tell guys to go there and shoot dice, and he would cut the game. But your grandfather, Ray, your father's father, okay, he had a lot of my dad's traits. They hustled. Okay, Ray Jones, your grandfather, he had a lot of my dad's traits. He had a lot of the things that my daddy did. Now, when Furman was in high school, he used to shoot dice. He used to shoot dice on the train. And I was talking to my brother about it one day. He said, well, he's just like his grandpa. Furman had a lot of those hustling things about him. But I'm telling you this because in a family, a lot of stuff is hereditary. And if you watch it, you'll see it. You can see it in the kids, you can see it in the grandkids. Furman has a lot of my father's ways. Ray Jr. got a lot of his father's ways. That's your dad, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
They have a lot of their ways. Now you wouldn't know about it, but unless somebody told you about it, but that's the way the traits run. See, now in Mariano, I can see a lot of Mariana and her mother, Dolores. Okay. I can see a lot of Ray Jr. and Michael. And your daughter, Jasmine has a lot of your ways from him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And your mother sitting next to you, a lot of those kids, Katrina, have a lot of Callum ways.
Yeah. And,
y'all need to know these things. Go ahead.
All right. Next day is Tony. The next question is coming from Tony.
Okay.
Hold on. We can't hear you. Tony, press the button.
He's on mute.
Okay.
Tony, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
I can hear you, Tony. Tony, you gotta forgive me. I got this package I'm sending to you. I got it on the stove. I just didn't send it off yet, but it's got a lot of stuff in it.
Okay.
Got
Thank you so much.
Okay. You look good,
My
Tony.
question is, it's interesting that Bubba worked in the sawmills because I thought, wasn't he a carpenter for the U.S. government, his job when he went to New York?
Tony, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, did Uncle Bubba, when he got to New York, Dad, was he working in some capacity for the government?
Your Uncle Bubba. Now let me tell you about your Uncle Bubba. Your Uncle Bubba went in the Navy. In World War II, he went in the Navy, and his other brothers went in the Army. He's the only one that went in the Navy. And he was a cook in the Navy. And when he got out of the Navy, he came back home. Him and Ruth was already married. They didn't have no kids. And he came back, and him and Ruth came to St. Maurice. Now, St. Maurice is where Yellow was living. And then Ruth and Bubba, they left from St. Maurice and they went to New York. They were the first people in the family to go to New York. Okay. And him and Ruth was living in New York. They bought a house on Kosciuszko Street. And when we all came out from down in Louisiana, we went to Ruth's house on Kosciuszko Street. And when I came, that was after Ray and Freddie, I went to your Aunt Alberta's house on Hart Street. That's where me and your mother went, to Hart Street. She can verify that. She's sitting right there next to you. That's the first house we lived in, was our brother's house, where you live at now. And Bubba was a disabled valiant because he had tuberculosis when he was in the labor. When he came out, they found out he had tuberculosis. And he became a disabled veteran, and he got a job with the federal government. That's where he worked.
That's what I thought.
He
Was
worked
he
there
a carpenter?
all his life until he died.
Did he work
He was
with
working
wood when he worked with wood when he was working for the government, like carpentry or something like that?
He was working for the Department of Agriculture.
Was
on
it
Fourth Street.
was it as a carpenter? Was he a carpenter for them?
When he first started working for the agriculture department, they was testing foods. He became a carpenter later on because he always wanted to be a carpenter. But he became a carpenter before he left. That's what he was working at when he died, was a carpenter. Now, that was one of the things that they had as a trait. All of their brothers, all of the brothers, Ferdinand and all, they could always build things. They built their house. Their father and them boys built the house that they had on the first 40 acres of land. They built a 7-room house.
Wow.
You know, they had that. Now, they were never trained to be carpenters. But back in that time, people just had talents to build things. They didn't have schools to send people to be carpenters and to be plumbers and to be electricians and things. We knew a guy when we was down in St. Maurice, he could wire any house, but he never went to school with an electrician. Now, how did they learn it? I don't know. How everybody just don't have the trait to be a carpenter. Everybody don't have the trait to be a plumber. Or electrician. Okay, I can't explain how that happens, but it happens.
It's hands-on experience.
Huh?
I said you get it from hands-on experience, like if you work
From
with somebody
experience.
else. And you kind of
That's true. A lot of it comes from experience. A lot of it just comes out there, get a hammer and a saw and start building things, and you know, and you become good at it. And some people just gets to be better at it than others. Well, your Raymond's father,
Raymond and Fred.
Carpenter. He never went to school to be a carpenter. I know Ray Jr.'s father taught Raymond's father how to read a ruler. I was there when he taught him.
Wow.
Okay. So he learned, he had a good learning ability. Now, Raymond and Frederick took a lot of their learning ability from their father. They could learn things that the average person just couldn't learn, or for some reason they could catch on to things. You know what I'm saying? They could catch on to things. They could do things that other people couldn't do. Like when he, you know, my brother taught him, Ray, I'm talking about Ray Jr.'s daddy now. He taught him how to read the ruler right on down from 1 inch down to 30 seconds. But he learned that right in his living room on Kosciuszko Street. That house used to learn on Kosciuszko Street, but he had that ability to learn things. Now, there was a lot of white people on his job that didn't think he was supposed to get that job as a carpenter. Now, he used to talk to me about these things. They really thought a white guy was supposed to get that job. But he insisted by him having more time on the job than this white guy that he should get the job. And he held out until he got the job, but then he learned how to do the work. I remember when he came, and they had him putting up a petition somewhere down on 4th Street in Manhattan. And he was trying to figure out how to put the petition up. So Ray Jr.'s father, Uncle Ray, went and got a guy that who was a carpenter to tell him how to put the petition up. He was a very diligent man, but he was a very smart man, but he didn't have high education. His education was something like the third grade. He went to work in a sawmill when he was about 14.
Hey, Dad, on education, the statement you just made, is it fair to say that all of you, when you came up to New York from Louisiana, all of you didn't have much education? Is that fair to say?
I had a high school education. Was in a very bad high school. They didn't teach me algebra. They didn't teach me geometry. They didn't teach me a lot of things. I had a very poor education from a very poor high school.
So is it
Uncle Ray
all right,
had a high school education.
So
I had a high school education, and he went in the army. And when he came in the army, he went to Grambling on a scholarship from the army. Your Uncle Ray, which was Ray Jr.'s father, he had 1 year of college when he went to New York. I didn't have no college when I went to New York. Your mother had 11th grade education. I had a 12th grade education. And we furthered our education after we got to New York. Your mother got a GED, and I went to this college at the City College up on 135th Street when I first got to New York.
So my question is, when all of you came up to New York at different times, the most education y'all had was a high school education. Yes?
I had a high school education. Your Uncle Freddie stopped school in the 8th grade.
And on Ruth?
Your Aunt Ruth, I don't know for sure, but I think she stopped school in the 5th grade.
Okay. All right, Tony, your second question.
Sorry, I think Keisha, had a question to get me back off of my mic, right?
All right, you want to go to Keisha? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Keisha.
I actually wanted to, before we kind of went from Louisiana, but how did Uncle Bubba come to live with you?
How did Uncle Bubba come to live with me?
Yes.
Your Uncle Bubba never lived with me in my house.
Okay.
He only did.
Yes, when we came to New York, Ray came to New York and lived in the house with your Uncle Bubba. Freddie came from New York and lived in the house with your Uncle Bubba and your Aunt Ruth. Now, when me and your mother came to New York, we lived with Alberta on Hart Street, where you live at.
So, Dad, let me understand, to help Keisha out. In Louisiana is where Bubba met Ruth.
At my dad's house. Yes, at my father's house.
So where did Bubba live in Louisiana?
Where Bubba lived at in Louisiana? Yes. He lived with my father. He lived with my father until he went into the army.
So Bubba,
Bubba went to the Navy.
So Bubba lived with you and Ruth lived with you too?
Right, in Louisiana.
Okay, go ahead, Keisha.
But that was in my father's house. That was in my father's house. That wasn't in my house.
Right. So why did he live with my? Why was he living with your father? I know my grandmother Ruth came with your mom, but why was my grandfather living in your house?
Because Aunt Ellen sent him there when he was 14 years old for him to get a job in a sawmill.
Okay.
He came from St. Maurice to Maps and lived in the house with my father. My father put him to work in a lumber yard in a farm because he was a big kid.
Okay.
He was 6 feet tall.
Okay.
And that's how he came.
Yeah, let me understand. You said Aunt Ellen sent Uncle Bubba to your house, right?
That's right, in Mass. That's right.
Okay, now, who was Aunt Ellen to you?
My
Aunt. So
aunt,
that
my
means,
dad's sister. She's the one that took us when my mother died.
okay, so Bubba was your cousin.
That's right.
Okay.
He's my first cousin.
I got you. Okay.
Okay.
See, when Bubba and Ruth were still in the house with us when my mother died.
I
The
got
first place that we went to live, let me explain it. The first, when my mother died, I was 4.5 and Ray was 7.5. When my mother died, Ruth and Bubba, we left Mavs and went to Hodge, Louisiana, and we lived in the house with Ruth and Bubba. That's the first place we lived when my mother died. And then my Ellen came and told my father to bring us to her, to bring us from Ruth and Bubba's house. And then they took us to St. Maurice. That's when I was 5.5 years old. And I stayed with her until I finished the 10th grade. Then I went to live with my father.
Okay.
See, our problem, well, it wasn't a problem, but the way we did this, we always looked after one another. See, when my mother died, Ruth and Bubba took me and Ray to Hodge, Louisiana. And that's where we lived at. And Bubba worked in the paper mill. And from that paper mill, he went to the Navy.
I understand. Because Ruth and Bubba were older than all of y'all.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And I think my mom also had a question piggybacking off of that.
Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, I wanted to know how Ruth got started with her businesses.
How she got to be my sister?
How she started with her businesses when she moved to New York.
Okay, I'll tell you how she started the business. When Bubba passed away, Bubba had a pension from the federal government. And by Ruth being his wife, that pension went over to Ruth. And he had a brand new car that he had bought that was paid for the day that he died. So Ruth took the money that came from Bubba's death and she bought a grocery store. And she kept the grocery store for about 1.5 years. The grocery store was right on the corner from where Ray Firehouse was.
Yep.
Okay. Now, after she got rid of the grocery store, she went and bought a bar on Cornelius Street in Brooklyn. And she was with Charlie Coons. Yep. And her and Charlie Coons ran a bar on Cornelius Street. And then when she left that bar, she went and got another bar on Ralph Avenue. And she went and got another bar on Ralph Avenue now. That was the last bar she had that I know of. But that's how Ruth got these businesses.
Okay. So she parlayed her, she parlayed her inheritance from her husband to her business.
She had a bar on Martin Street.
Tell me what Tony said,
Hold on, Diane's talking. Hold on.
Her last bar was on Martin Street. Martin's
and got something in front of it.
Dad, you can't talk. Diane's trying to talk. Go ahead,
okay, can you tell me what Diane said?
Her last bar was on Martins and Flatbush. Martins Street
on Ruth's last bar.
He had another bar
Martins and Flatbush. Yeah, that was the last one.
Oh, okay. That was the last one.
Mm-hmm.
You were old enough to know about that.
I've been in all of them.
I think DJ's working on a delay.
But see, at that time, I was probably running the bar on Staten Island.
Staten Island, exactly. I was in that one too.
Yeah. See, I didn't have time to be going. I used to go to the one on Cornelia Street, and I used to go to the one on Ralph Avenue, but I never went to that bar. So you know more about that than I do.
How many bars do you have on, Diane?
Go ahead.
How many bars did you have?
I think it was
those
three.
Three?
I think
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
three.
those three.
Three and a corner store.
Gotcha.
And a corner store.
She had a corner store right down the street from Ray's house.
Yep.
But we were doing good with that.
Central Avenue.
I hated it.
That was on Central Avenue.
Huh? What was that avenue?
That was on
Central Avenue. That's right. That's right. Right on the corner.
I told you, I've been all up.
Yeah, you just small, but you were there. You were there. You sure was.
All right. All right.
Diane can tell you, we did good. We did good with that store because I had experience from working for a company called War Bombs in Brooklyn. Okay. And I helped Ruth a lot of times when I would leave the store. We would go over there, and me and Carolyn used to go and help her in that store. And we were doing good in that store. But for some reason, Ruth sold that store because I think she just had the inkling to have a bar. But the store did good. I liked it, that store. It was right on the corner, and we got a lot of business. Sold a lot of beer and sodas and stuff like that. You know how people just come in and get a soda and stuff like that. And she was selling cold cuts and stuff like that, you know?
I have her liquor
And-
license. I have her liquor license from that store. I have
Tony
I
has
have her
Tony has a liquor license, a copy of it.
A copy, you got a copy of it?
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Well, so I'm telling you the truth. She had a liquor license. She sure did.
Mhm.
And I tell you what, she got the liquor license. There was a lawyer on Troop Avenue and DeKalb. And that's where we used to go. And that guy, he was a lawyer. He was just a little local lawyer. That's when Ruth was living on Kosciuszko Street. And he got Ruth a liquor license. Sure did.
Okay, Keisha, you got a second question?
Yes. So, did my father, Freddie, did he go into the service because he was drafted, or did he like just enlist on his own? How did that happen?
Now, let me tell you this story, baby. Let me tell you this story. Your father was going to school, farming over there someplace. There was a high school over there in Crown Heights. And he was in the 10th grade. And I went over there when he started having trouble in high school. Because he had came from the elementary school, the Catholic school where farming kids went, right there on Lewis and Hart. Raymond and Frederick went to Catholic school there, and then he went to school over there on Eastern Parkway Farming. I can't think of the name of the school. Farming might be in. But the coach over there told me that your father was the best athlete that he ever seen. Okay, he could do 50 push-ups at one time. He was a super athlete. Okay, but he was starting to have trouble in high school with different things. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you how he got into the service. That was because he was having trouble in high school. And Ruth did this, but she didn't want to take advice from me and your Uncle Ray. She didn't want to take advice from us. I'm gonna tell the truth on her. She signed for Frederick to go into the service. Frederick wasn't old enough to go in the service. Frederick, when he went in the service, I don't think he was 17 years old. Okay, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. But Ruth signed for Frederick to go into the service. And then when Frederick got into the service, and I blame the Army for this, they took him, and I guess he was about 6 months after he got into the service. Furman was in the war. Frederick was in the war. And he had a bad experience when he first got into the war, because he left California, and him and this guy was friends. The guy came to Brooklyn with him, and they left there and they went overseas. And that kid, they was in Korea, I think it was. No.
Vietnam.
Was they in Korea? Vietnam. I don't remember. Vietnam. But that kid stepped on a mine and blew his legs off when him and Frederick were together. They put him in the same company, and it blew his legs off. Both of his legs. And Frederick was with him at the time, and he died right there. And that took effect on Frederick mentally. And then, you know, Frederick got through the service, and but it left scars on him. It made him do things that he wouldn't ordinarily do. But the experiences was too bad for a kid that was his age. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Do
I
you
understand.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
It left
sir, I
scars on your father that was too much for a 17-year-old to handle.
Right, right.
So he did a lot of things that he shouldn't have done, but he was 17 years old, and that's the only way he could handle it. But he made it out of Vietnam, and he came back alive.
Right.
But he had some problems. He had some problems when he came back.
She's not waiting no more.
Okay. And those problems followed him back to the streets of Brooklyn. You understand?
All right. Tony got a follow-up question, Dad.
Okay, I have
Go
a
ahead.
comment for Keisha. Your dad has a bronze medal that he received when he was in the military, and
He got a bronze medal from
the military.
Wait a minute now. Was it Frederick or Raymond that got the Bronx medal?
Frederick.
I think that was Frederick.
That's Frederick.
It's Frederick.
Got the medal, yeah.
And I
Frederick got a Bronx medal. Frederick was in the thick of fighting. It was Frederick that got the Bronx medal. That's right. But Frederick did a lot of fighting in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of fighting. And he went through a lot of things that he shouldn't have been going through at that age. But when they put you in the army, you're in the army. I don't care whether you 17, 19, or you 21, or you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
Frederick was in the real war. Let's put it that way, as the guy said in the streets. That was a real war. That was fight to live. You fight to save your own life. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So your father had a hard time over there.
Hey,
But
Dad.
he made it back. He made it back.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Did Aunt Ruth name Freddie and Raymond after your brothers?
She named Frederick after Freddie, and she named Raymond after Ray.
Okay, got you. All right. Ronnie, you next, bro. Ronnie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, now we can hear you, bro.
All right. Uncle Ben. So, describe you guys' childhood, your brothers.
Describe your child. Describe you and Ray and Freddie's childhood.
And how you got to Staten Island?
How we got? Well, let me tell you about my childhood. See, when my mother died, we all was together in Mavs, Louisiana. My father was in the sawmill. That's when we got separated. Me and Ray went with Ruth and Bubba to Harsh, Louisiana. Then we went to St. Maurice for my aunt, but Freddie and Farnham didn't come with us. They were older. Okay, so we got separated. The four brothers got separated. And then about 2 or 3 years after that, they brought all of us to St. Maurice with Aunt Ellen. Okay? Then when World War II started, your father left and went to World War II. Your father was in World War II. I don't know if you ever knew that, but your father was in World War II.
Yeah,
your father made an allotment to me and Ray when he was in the army. And then while your father was in the army, my brother under him that Furman was named after, he got killed. He was 16 years old then. He got killed working for some white guy. And he was under a house and he was spraying the house with an electric sprayer. And the cord pulled loose and hit him across the face and shocked him. And that's when he died. That's what Furman namesake died at. Okay? Now, then your brother came out of the army. He didn't live with us down south anymore. Just me and Ray was there. He went to New York where Ruth was. And he got a job. The first job he had, your father was in a Rockwood candy factory in Brooklyn on Broadway. Rockwood chocolate candy makes like Hershey bars. That's what the first job your father had. Then your father went from there and he started working for the beer company, Budweiser. And then after he started working for Budweiser, he got a job with the housing authority. Now, while he was working for the housing authority, when he left that job, that's when he came to Staten Island. We had a little bar called a Firehouse. That's how your father got to Staten Island.
Okay.
And then when we got to the Firehouse, we bought a bar down there that you know about called the Island Room. You remember that bar, right?
Yeah.
On Union Avenue?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when he met the people that you know, Robert Phillips and all of them. That's how your father got to Staten Island. Because me and Ray was on Staten Island, we had a little bar called a Firehouse. I don't think you remember that place.
No.
Anyway,
Ronnie came there. Ronnie came for the Island Room when he was born, not the Firehouse.
That's what, that's what he remembered the Island Room though.
Right.
All right, listen.
Okay.
I know someone who knows of you guys as brothers, right? His name is what's his name? His name is not Robert Phillips. It's Robert. Oh, Robert Gilmore. He lives over. He lives over on maybe Park. And he's another one who's been around with you guys. So so often he has stories of you guys.
Yeah, he used to come to the Island Room.
Yeah,
I remember him. Yeah, Robert Gilmore. And your best friend was Robert Phillips.
Yeah.
That was your father's best friend. Robert Phillips. He left from Staten Island and he came to Birmingham, down here in Alabama. That's where he died in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Where his daughter was. Yeah. You look just like your father, Ronnie. You do. You look just like your father. He started He's trying to get ball right there in the front. You look just like him. Just like him. Yeah,
I know one thing. I can say this, Ronnie. Your dad, of all our, and Diane will probably agree with me. Your dad was the coolest of the three. When I say coolest, I mean he never stressed. He never seemed to be stressed about nothing. I never heard your father yell. Now, he might have yelled at you or Margie when y'all were young, but I never heard your dad yell at anybody. I never heard him raise his voice. He just had a look about him. I seen him give that look at the bar a few times to different people, and they just either walked away or shut up. But your dad was so carefree. Am I right, Dad?
That was my buddy. I'm telling you,
so
out of my
carefree.
uncles, see, Uncle BJ is my godfather. So, you know, he's my other dad. But Uncle Freddie, that was my dude. I'm telling you.
He was
my protector.
He was just the coolest, man.
He was my,
Yeah, he was just
the rope. He had my back. So dudes, I didn't worry about no dudes at all. I worked that iron room and the house. Am I right?
Ronnie, your daddy was the type of a person. He was quiet. He never raised his voice or anything like that. But you better not mess with his family.
Man.
Now, I've seen him tell people, you know, when Diane's father, my brother Freddie, if he got into with somebody, Freddie would go to that person. He go to their house. And he said, now, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna use this word. He said, this is the way he said it. Nigga, if you mess with my brother, I'll kill you. That's the way he was. Okay? And then he'd turn around and he'll walk away. But that's the way he was. He always had the back of his people. He didn't make no big, you know, to do about it. You didn't say nothing, but you always knew that your father had your back. Okay? I remember one time you probably was a little boy then when them old white boys in the back right there behind that bar broke into the bar and robbed it. And he went around there with a shotgun and the cops caught him with the shotgun and they took him to jail. Your father.
Yeah.
Because he went around and told him, you better bring back everything you took out of the bar. I'm going to blow you up. That's the way he was. That's the way he was. That was my brother Freddie, your father. He believed in the family.
You next, Diane.
Well, I don't have no questions because you know I know about just about everything. There is
Diane just about know everything about her. Now let me tell you about Diane.
And I've got some stories about me.
Then I'll go to Naomi. Naomi, you there?
Okay.
I'm here.
Naomi,
Sorry, I can't turn my camera on right now, but I'm here.
Okay, Naomi, you got a question for Uncle BJ?
I mean,
Hi, how you doing?
Sorry, what? Who said something? Oh, I just wanted to know about Dad. Like, how was Dad growing up? Because he said some stories about like middle school and like the thing that happened when his bus got turned over. The bus that took him back and forth from that school that he went to, and there was like a bunch of white high schoolers that chased him and like the group of Black kids into like the train tracks, and it was like that was like a traumatic thing that happened. But I don't really know any other stories about his childhood. So if you have any,
Naomi, you talking about your dad, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you about one story. Because me and your dad grew up like brothers instead of cousins because we was always together. Diane and Ray Jr. were always at our house almost every weekend, and we were doing something or going somewhere. So me and your dad, by the time that Diane and them moved to East New York, where we lived at, they already knew everybody from being over there so much. So all of my friends were already Ray Jr.'s friends. So it wasn't like a strange neighborhood. So one story I got about your dad, we went to play baseball one day with a whole group of friends. It must have been like 16 of us. And we walked out to Canarsie past this dairy farm called Sunnydale, where we all used to go to and get drinks and fruit punch and all that stuff and drink before or after we played. So after we played baseball for like, I don't know, 7 hours or so, we all dirty and tired and sweaty. All 16 of us is walking back to the project that we lived in. And for some reason, we broke up into groups. So the group ahead of me, like by like 5 blocks or so, they got their stuff in the store first. So I actually thought your dad was with them because my group was about 6 guys. Ray Jr. wasn't with us. So I figured he was on up ahead of me. But come to find out later, Ray Jr. actually was still in the store. We all had left him. I don't know why your dad was so slow. I don't know what he was doing, but he got out the store last. And then when he came out the store, we were so many blocks away, we had no idea what was happening to him, which was 2 Spanish guys pulled up and they pulled up on bikes and they robbed your dad for his baseball glove. And I don't remember exactly if your dad was reluctant to give it up or he gave it up, but they cut your father, Diane, like about an inch or 2 from his jugular vein. And they ran off with the glove. I think Ray Jr. ran back into Sunnydale. They called an ambulance. The people at Sunnydale called Uncle Ray, your grandfather. And then your grandfather called my father. So when I walked in the door, Dad is running out the door talking about Ray Jr. got cut. He's in the hospital. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Ray Jr.'s home already. He was in front of me. But come to find out, he wasn't. So I jumped in the car with my father. We go to Brookdale, and you talking about cry like a baby? Oh my God, I was crying. I thought they were gonna put me in the stretcher. I was crying because Ray Jr.'s laid up in the hospital bed with all these tubes and stuff in him and all these machines next to him. Now we couldn't have been older than, I don't know, like maybe 14. If he was 14, that means I was 12. So, long story short, Ray survived. They fixed him up. And that's one story that I'll never forget, only because I thought I was losing my cousin that day. And I can add to it that your father, Ebony, and your father, Keisha, they found out about this. And they weren't happy about it at all. So needless to say, those guys paid for their mistake. They paid for their mistake dearly. Now your dad went to high school with a majority of white people because your dad went to Brooklyn Tech. And back then that was like the cream de la creme of high schools, especially in Brooklyn. You had to take a test to get in. You couldn't get no questions wrong. You had to be interviewed like Stuyvesant. So it was nothing but whites and Chinese in there. There was very few blacks. So any experience that he had with whites, and back then we all had experience with whites, because you couldn't move, like you couldn't go to Canarsie without getting chased by the whites. I went to high school in Far Rockaway. The whites tried to act up out there. They was throwing blacks off the bridge out there. There's a bridge that goes from Queens over to Far Rockaway. So back then in our time, and Diane is 4 years older than me, I mean, it was always some black and white stuff going on. So any story your dad told you, more than likely he dealt with it. Because back then it was like that. It was a lot more I shouldn't say more because it's just as racist now as it was back then, but you just dealt with it and moved on.
So was he like really just like a quiet kid, or did he speak out?
He was a brat.
He was a
brat. You want to know? That's what he was. He was a brat. You know, but he was my brat.
He said he could kind of like get away from stuff because if Grandma Dolores said he couldn't do nothing, he would just go ask Grandpa Ray, and then he would usually be able to do whatever. So,
honey,
Well, your dad
was in school. I was the one that was beating the ones that was bothering his behind.
Yeah, I believe
he would
that.
go get his big sister, and I would go, and I didn't care how small they were. I was like, yo, that's your brother? I didn't know that was your brother. I didn't know that. I'm telling you, don't mess with my brother.
Yeah.
But he was kind of a nerd, wasn't he? Like, because Grandma would send him to school in like suits and a hat.
Little ties and hats.
And the boys at school crushed his hat.
Yeah, the boy took his hat. He had my brother was outside crying. I said, why are you crying? He took my hat and threw it on the pole. I made that big behind boy go up that pole and get that hat. I said, you will not mess with my brother. That's my brother.
Let me ask. Hey, Micah, you and Naomi were older. Naomi was younger at this time. Remember you guys lived on Dean?
Yeah.
And the people next door, when they took over Roy's house, the crackheads?
Oh, yeah.
And your dad was really upset that all these crackheads were living next door and they were coming in and out all times of night?
Yep.
Well, one day, these crackheads must have spoke to you two. Because he called me on the phone. He said, hey, man, I got a problem. And Ray always calls me when he got a problem. He ain't fighting nobody. He called his cousin because he know I'm coming. He said, hey, man, these crackheads are speaking to your nephews and your nieces. So I said, what are you talking about? He says, they getting up in the morning and I can't take the kids to school without them speaking to the kids. He said, I'm getting sick of this. I need you to come over here and straighten this out. So I said, all right, man, I'll come over, man. And so I go up in the place next door to y'all, and I gather them all together. I said, hey, listen, man, you guys gonna have to get out of here soon. And they're like, why? Who are you? Oh, I'm the guy next door, cousin. And you guys can't be speaking to my nieces and nephews. And the guy, they just looking at me like, well, what do? We just said, good morning. No. You don't say nothing to my nieces and nephews. We're not trying to get acquainted with y'all. We're not trying to know y'all. We're not trying to let y'all know us. Okay? If I got to come back over here again, I'm kicking all of y'all out because none of y'all got leases anyway. So I'm taking all of y'all out of here, not one by one. I'm herding all of y'all into a vehicle. I'm going to drive you somewhere. I'm going to drop you off, and you can never come back here again. So they said, okay, we understood. I don't think they bothered y'all no more, but your dad was going bananas. He was like, yo, they speaking to the kids, man. They speaking to the kids. What's the big deal? But he was so irate about that house that he didn't like it no more.
Real quick. Can I jump in with I want to jump off of that for Diane, for Thurman, and I guess even for BJ. I hear a lot about Ebony's dad, but I don't really hear, like, you know, Diane, you sort of just described Uncle Ray as he was like a brat. He was, you know, I guess he got his hat took and thrown on poles sometimes. Could you all tell a little bit more about, like, what was her dad like as a kid?
Oh, man.
High school, when he got older, like, what was he actually like?
He was, Di, you want to go first?
Well, the thing that I knew about, like what I had mentioned to you guys before, when I would watch all of them together and the things that the shenanigans that they would be doing, because they were always shenanigans as a group. You know, when they're by themselves, they're all right. But as a group, they would start being the superheroes, the Marvels, the Supermans, the Batmans, the Robins, jumping off of stuff and almost breaking their necks. You know, it's like scaring the heck out of me, you know? So that's just that was their childhood growing up. They were always having fun though. They were always doing sports and stuff like that together.
Did Ray
and Uncle
have
BJ,
a favorite superhero?
always.
What'd you say, Jeff?
Did her dad have a favorite superhero? Was he like a big Batman or a big Superman?
He was Superman.
Superman.
He was Superman. He would put the cape around his neck. I call it a cape. It was a sheet. He would take the sheet and tie it around his neck off the bed. And then they would start commencing to jump, either jump from the bed to the dresser, off the top of the day that everybody got their ass whipped was, for me, was when they climbed on top of the dresser. It's a hutch, and was jumping off the dresser to the windowsill to the bed. I'm like, y'all Negroes, and now we lived on the fourth or fifth floor, I forget, on St. John's Place. And I'm like, yo, y'all can't do that. You're gonna jump out the window and kill yourself, or I'm gonna get my butt wet. That time I took out the belt, I was the equalizer. I was just getting everybody together. Then they talk about me like a dog in the room. I know, but I would leave them in the room and they were good. As they got older.
Go ahead, Tony.
As they got older, I'll say this one thing though. As they got older, Ed, when your dad was grown, okay, and he liked to hang out and he liked to get his drink on. The one thing that he used to do, and Tony, you know this, he'd be out with his dudes, and then what did he do? He come and ring the damn doorbell at 4 o'clock in the morning, talking about we hungry.
Yeah.
We would have to get up.
Go ahead.
And we would have to get up and make potatoes and eggs and sausage and bacon for him and his crew.
And Uncle Freddie Uncle Freddie did that also sometime. Uncle Freddie, when I was a kid, would show up.
Yes, he did.
To my house, and 2 in the morning.
Just show up.
To just show up out of nowhere.
And Mom would curse the whole time, but she pulling out the pots, and then she wake my ass up, start peeling them potatoes, and we up there, and I was having fun. Hey, I got my cousins here. We gonna spoil them. So when my mother had stopped and moved, actually when she moved, then Ray did say, well, that didn't change nothing. We still gonna come over. You get up and you make us something to eat. And that's what we did. That's what we did.
Go ahead, Tom.
Take your mute off, boo.
Take your mute off.
We're muted.
When I met Raymond, he had a Batman lunchbox.
See?
Wow. Wow.
Yes. And he used to take me to Aunt Dolores' house in the middle of the night. And I was like, you can't go over there. He said, she don't care. We go to Staten Island first, and then we go to Aunt Dolores' house.
That's right.
Well,
I'm cursing him out the whole time.
To me, Freddie and Raymond were larger than life.
Yeah.
They were like superheroes to me, just like my dad and my uncle. So even though Diane says they used to act like they were Batman and Robin and Superman, to me they actually were, because we were so short and little, and they were so tall and big and older than us. Yeah. But the one thing I took from my cousins, I believe I got it from them, and somewhat from my dad as well, is that Keisha, your dad, and Ebony, your father, they were protectors of us. They just made sure that everybody met us when we were with them. They made sure we was okay when we was with them. They made sure we didn't want for nothing when we was with them. If you wanted something from the store or not, if Raymond or Freddie took you to the store, they were gonna ask you to pick out what you want. And we sure picked out stuff. I mean, we was and they paid for it. They made sure. Keisha, your dad used to take us to the park. And I live 2 blocks from the park right now. And it was swings and slides in that park at that time. Your dad used to make the kids get off the slides. He used to make them get off the swings, if they were with their parents or not. It didn't matter. He just said, "Oh, get off, get off." And the whole park became mine and Darius's park. And Freddie would just stand there like this. And then when we were tired, he'd say, "You tired? Y'all finished?" And all the kids would just be standing around waiting, looking sad as can be. And me and Darius we just went on and played. And Freddie wouldn't let nobody play with us. He ain't want nobody around. He didn't want to get hurt. And if you fell, Raymond, if you fell with Raymond would put you on his shoulders because we got big shoulders, us Joneses. And Raymond would just throw you across the shoulder like a medevac and be trying to run you to the hospital. You'd be like, "Yeah, cuz, I'm all right. No, come on, you gotta get back to the house. So that's what I really remember about the two of them growing up. They were kind, they were gentle. Raymond was so soft-spoken, Ebony. He was really soft-spoken. It took a lot to get him riled. I guess Tony would know that better than me. But if he got riled, you definitely heard his voice. Because he was more soft-spoken than Freddie. Freddie wasn't soft-spoken. Freddie was concrete and to the point. But they were so tall that, when we got in front of them, we were looking up like this, like, "Oh my God, I got a cousin that's 6'7" and like 6'4". So it was always gigantic to me, but I think that's where I get that protector from that Diane laid with me when I was young, because I think I got it from them. Go ahead, Keisha.
So what is the age difference, Ebony, between you and I? Like, I'm just turned 51, because I remember like every weekend I was with your dad. I can't remember like how that always happened or why. I know I always wanted to be with him. So what is our age difference? How old are you?
I just turned 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was it. I was his little girl until you came.
Exactly. I remember me.
I was the only girl until you came.
Diane was the only girl.
I was the only girl on this side. That's why I felt so protected, even though I was older than Ray. But your Freddie was older than me.
Okay.
So
what was the age difference?
I was covered, Huh?
Do you guys know the age difference between Ray and Freddie?
Well, I know I'm 64, and I think Freddie would have been what, 66, 67?
I think they were 2 or 3 years apart.
Everybody was like a 3 year. It was something with our family was 3 years.
Tony said 9. They 9 years?
No, they're not 9 years apart. No.
Wow.
No.
No, I don't think they can't be.
No.
Because he was 9. He was 9 when Freddie went. I think he was 9 when Freddie went to Vietnam.
Oh, Raymond was 9?
I think so.
Wow.
Because he was born in 1957.
Oh, Ray.
Right. Ray was under me.
Hey, Dad, were they 9 years apart?
That seems kind of.
Oh. Raymond and Frederick.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 9 years, but it was quite a few. It was somewhere between 6 and 9.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
See,
I knew he was older than me, though. I did know he was older than me.
Yeah, Freddie was the oldest.
Yeah.
Freddie was the oldest. Yeah. Freddie was the oldest of
Ruth had Frederick a long time before they got Raymond. Frederick was born a long time before Raymond.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know how many years it was. I don't really know. But there was a lot of distance between Frederick and Raymond. But everybody was very proud when Ebony was born.
Oh, yeah.
They all was crazy about Ebony because it seemed like our family tree had stopped before Ebony was born,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They thought Ebony was the little girl that nobody thought was going to get here, but she finally came along. You know, so that's why we still look at her as being a baby, but she ain't no baby no more. But we still look
No, I'm not. Right.
I gotta jump in a second. I wanna get one last question, and before I do, I saw Tony, you had your hand up.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a comment for Keisha. Your uncle thought you were the princess. Your Uncle Ray. Every time he saw you, he gave you some jewelry or some money. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
He thought you were the princess. When we went to New York, he had to go to your grandmother's house to see you. And he said, I don't have nothing. I'm giving her this necklace. I'm giving her this. He always had something to give her.
Yeah, I remember, that's the thing. Like, I remember just like my weekends, or even if it was every other weekend, like I was always with him, you know, and it even got to a point where, so I wasn't good at reading, but I was good at math. So of course he had to like push me, and like, so they took me to Brooklyn College because they wanted to put me in a think tank. I'm like, what the heck? And I was like, little, I'm like, but I went for a week and then I told my dad, I'm like, math all day long? I was like, really? So yeah, we had to break Raymond's heart and tell him that I didn't want to do it. But I don't even remember just a little bit of things, but yes, always being with him, always giving me jewelry. Just, yeah, he was my favorite. So I remember that.
You remember coming to my house?
Yes.
Yeah, and I had to pick you up at the bus station.
Yes. I do, and that's why I was wondering like how far apart me and Ebony was, because I'm like, I don't remember playing with her. I just remember it was kind of just always me and him and you, and you know, I just remember always being with him. So 16 years, that's why.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna get out of here after this one, but BJ, I'm gonna bring it back to you. I just want to hear one story about her dad that you don't think she knows yet.
Herman, can you tell me what he said there now?
Justin said he'd like to hear one story that you know about Big Raymond that you don't think Ebony know about.
Well, the thing that I would like to talk about Big Raymond, and you might be told her about it, but Big Raymond was one of the best basketball players that ever hit Christ the King.
Yes, he was.
He went to Catholic school over by your house, over there on Lewis Avenue. But he went straight from there to Christ the King. And Raymond had a 20-point average when he left elementary school. He could shoot the ball, he was fast, and he was strong. And they said they could make anything out of him. They could make a point guard out of him. They could make a man who plays around the basket. You know, he could be a power forward. He could be, you know, they could just about make anything out of Raymond. And he was almost tall enough to be a center. But Raymond should have been going to the NBA when he was going to the service. He should have been going to college. Now, Raymond had a chance to go to UCLA. And Wooten was the coach out there in UCLA, and he wanted Raymond bad because he was getting messages from Christ the King. And Christ the King is a popular school because they had money and they had communications with all the big colleges. And UCLA wanted Raymond, but Ruth didn't want Raymond to go to UCLA. See, when Raymond went to Queens College, Raymond should be going to UCLA. Now, I'll tell you why I said that. Raymond's father, Nathaniel, who we call Bubba, was a disabled veteran, and Raymond could go to college for free. Because, see, Bubba was not just on a disabled veteran, he was 100%. And anytime you're 100%, your kids can go to college for free. All Raymond had to do was go to California. Now, that's a story that everybody should know. It's sad, but everybody should know about that.
If I can,
that your father, Ebony, your father was one of the best ball players I ever seen. He had natural talent. Was a good athlete, and he had a level head. But that's one thing about our family, that we do have level head. We can take instructions and we can carry them out. Now that's very important. And I want y'all to all remember that. Have a level head and be able to carry out whatever your project is. Okay? But your father was a terrific basketball player.
He was ranked. He was more than terrific, Ebony. He was ranked the #1 Catholic high school basketball player his junior and senior year. And I found this out not even through our family. I found this out years later at a poker game, where people I knew at the poker game who were talking about basketball and our era when we played mentioned your dad's name. And I literally said, who did you say? And they said, Raymond Taylor. I said, light-skinned Raymond Taylor? They said, yeah. Now, these were a couple of guys older than me. And I said, that's my cousin. And they were like, nah, get out of here, Farm. That ain't your cousin, man. I said, yo, that's my first cousin. He had a brother named Freddie. And these guys literally said, oh, so that's where you learn how to play ball from. I said, my cousin was XYZ. And then they start telling me stories that I had to go look up. And when I looked it up and I found out what I found, I literally got mad at my dad. Because I was like, yo, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't we know that Raymond was the #1 basketball player in the city? Back then, they had rankings. They used to rank players, even when I was in high school.
Wow.
And Raymond is in a picture. A guy brought me the picture. Him and a guy named O'Neal Tarrant. O'Neal Tarrant was the #1 PSAL, which is public school player. And Raymond was the #1 Catholic high school player. But Ebony, it goes further than UCLA. I was with your father when a whole bunch of white men in suits walked up to him at a game that he took me to at Queens College, where other high schools were playing for the championship or the playoffs, really. And all these white guys in suits and ties, and I was about 14. It's because of your dad I started playing basketball. I grew up playing football. But when I saw the aura of all this around me, I was like, yo, I want this. Because they were coming up to your dad, they were shaking his hand, they was giving him cards. I thought they were police officers. Because I didn't know nothing about my cousin. Why is all these white guys coming up to Raymond? And when I found out what I found out later, I put 2 and 2 together. Those were coaches and scouts that were coming up to Raymond. And when we walked in that gym, we went through a side door. We didn't have to wait in line. It must have been 700 people or more in the gym. And your all eyes was on your dad when we walked in there. I mean, guys from the other teams that were on the court warming up came over and shook your father's hand, gave him this guy named Buddy Green, who was like one of the best ball players in Manhattan at the time. He came over and hugged your dad. I'm just standing there and all like, yo, what? How do they all know Raymond like this? And then when Dad told me the story, I'm like, that's unbelievable. That I played so much ball and I never knew my cousin was who he was. I knew Freddie could play.
Right.
Because he was so tall and he was always bouncing the ball on Kosciuszko.
Yeah.
But I never knew your dad became what he was. And then Michael, that lives on the block, he told me stories too, that came out to your house with us, him and his brother.
Yeah, Mike and Greg.
That's right, Ebony. Your father is probably the only person in my lifetime that was a #1 city basketball player and didn't make the pros. Or didn't go to the pros.
Who did he play like?
But you know,
I've never seen him, Just.
Raymond was a humble kid. He was very, very humble. But this is hindsight, this is Monday morning quarterbacking. But if he hadn't have been so humble and would have just said, I don't care whether my mother like it, I don't care my father like it, I don't care who like it. I'm going to UCLA because that's where the knowledge is. This guy, what was his name? He was a Wooten Furman.
Yeah, John.
He was one of the best. What was his first name?
John Wooden. John Wooden.
John Wooden. He was one of the best basketball coaches in the United States. And he had one of the best teams. Now, if Ryan had went to UCLA, he'd have went there 2 years after Lou Alcindor left, who became Jamal.
Kareem, right.
Raymond would have took over that team. And Raymond would have been a whole lot different. But see, instead of Raymond he got frustrated and he went into the service, and that shouldn't have been. But I think he just did that to get away. See, he could have got away by going to UCLA too.
Was it my grandmother that didn't want him to go?
Wanted Raymond to go to Queens College because she was in Queens. See, but you can't hold your kids back for them to be with you. Let's say y'all had a baby right now, you and your husband right now, and that kid grow up. There's gonna become a time when you're gonna have to let him go. You're gonna have to let him go because he's gonna have a life just like you.
Yeah.
And you can't hold him back because, I just want him to be here in New Jersey or in Pennsylvania with me. You can't do that. Don't y'all do that.
See, Ebony, listen to me. Your grandmother, Eb, I love her to death. Don't get me wrong, but she was very bossy. She was very hands-on. She was very my way or the highway. So Raymond and Freddie was kind of like locked into that all their lives. Like whatever mama say,
I tell you why, because see, she never let Nathaniel have anything to do with the kids. He worked and he came home, he was a good provider and all of that, but he never took over with his kids like I think he should have. If he would have, it would have been a much different Furman and Richard's life. I'm going to tell you a story about Furman when he was playing football. He broke his arm in practice. He came home, stayed all night, went back and played the game the next day. Then he come and told me that his arm was hurt. See, our kids have a lot of stamina. They have a lot of stamina. This whole family have a lot of stamina. You see, they do things that's unbelievable. There's a lot of things that we have been blessed with a lot of God-gifted talents. And y'all always remember that. But see, if God give you a talent, your gift back to God is what you do with that talent. And that's what we got to dwell on. If we have a talent, we got to use it and make something out of it. And that's what I want all y'all to remember. That's what I'm going to leave y'all with today. Y'all have a lot of talent. We have a lot of smart people in our family. We got a lot of Marianos, and we have a lot of Ray Rays, and we have a lot of Dianes, and we have a lot of, you know what I mean? Y'all all have done well. Y'all all got smart kids. Furman got a kid right now that she amazes me. Every time I talk to her, she amazes me. That's Erica. Ray Jr. have all smart kids. Have you noticed that? How many families?
Dad, hold up. We still checking on Micah. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We still checking on Micah. Naomi, Ray, and Alma. I'm still checking on Micah, man. Don't tell Micah too much.
You just keep checking on him.
I didn't give Micah.
You keep checking on him.
Like all the rest of us can
He
do.
just
Actual street. We dropped him.
Listen, you just say with Mariano. You stay with him. You slap him around when they don't do right, okay?
I got it.
You understand?
I got it.
Don't give up on him. Don't give up on him.
When you guys were
Don't
talking
give
about
up on him.
college, when you guys were talking about college, I was thinking like my dad wanted us to go as far as possible for college. He was like, go all the way across the country. He was like, go abroad.
Right.
Don't you want to go to
Right.
Egypt or something? I'm like, no. So, but Emma went the farthest, and then we moved and followed her to Florida. So,
Hey, I was trying to get Katrina to go away. She wouldn't go budge. And if you wouldn't have met Rick.
I told him that.
You wouldn't have met Rick if I had my wish.
It's not that I didn't want to go away to school. I had some traumas that prohibited me having the
Mr. Jones, how you doing, Mr. Jones?
I'm doing good.
I'm hearing your stories right now.
I had some traumas prohibiting me from going, but I do hope that my child who's had a different childhood, will go away to school. But I did pretty good for a person who didn't go away to school. I still got
I think you did excellent. I was just trying to say, I was trying to send you to the Middle East also.
I'm gonna send Chaslin there though.
Oh, now you got it. Now she got a child, Diane. She want to send her away.
Yeah, I'm gonna send my child away. And I'm probably gonna pack my bags and go along with her because you say hi to everybody.
Hello, but they won't be allowed to come. I'm going.
You see Micah, you see Naomi, you see Aunt Diane.
All right. Let's go to Ronnie. You up next, Ronnie.
Hey, Farmer, where is Keisha's son?
Crazy. Huh?
Say that again, Ronnie.
Keisha. Go ahead, Ronnie.
No, I'm just sitting back and listening.
Okay. Dad, you asked where Keisha's sons are? Dad,
yeah, where is he?
Keisha, both
where is Keisha's son?
My oldest, they both are here right now, but Dewan, he's finishing up college at Edward Waters College. And little one, he's only 11, so he's in 4th grade, but they all upstairs. Dewan is sleeping because he did work last night. But
and for anybody that didn't get the text message I sent out, Keisha's oldest son is a college basketball star in Florida. So he takes after I imagine his father and his grandfather and his grandfather brother, because I seen the clip of him play.
Oh, okay.
So I'm imagining that's how my cousin looked playing, because Keisha's son can play. I've seen clippings of him.
Okay, all right.
I had a question.
Long as you're doing all right.
The land in Louisiana, you said before that you wouldn't that we wouldn't believe the things that the family had to go through to get the land and keep it. Could you tell us some about that?
Dad, did you hear
Farmer, tell me what Ebony said.
Ebony said,
I can hear.
Ebony said, can you tell her more about the land in Louisiana and what you guys went through to get it and to keep it?
You tell Ebony. Now, I want all y'all to listen to this. I got to start at the beginning so you can have an understanding. A. Ellen was left 40 acres of land. She was married twice, and she was left 40 acres of land by her first husband, and she was left 40 acres of land by her second husband. That make it 80 acres of land. Now, you tell Tony, your mother, Ebony, that I'm sending her a copy of the deed that I made. Now, they tell me that there was another deed made after this deed, but I don't know nothing about that. All I know is the deed that Aunt Ellen made with me.
So you want to go in the bathroom?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Grandpa, you
just got to ask you to the hand.
you talking to Grandma.
I can't go upstairs now.
I'm gonna mute you for a
But
second.
I'm sure she'll give it to you.
Daddy, mute your phone. You gotta mute.
Sorry.
Katrina got a copy of the deed. I sent Katrina a copy to put in her file. But I'm gonna send one to Tony also. You understand, Tony? I got it over here on the couch now. I just gotta mail it to you. And I got some pictures in there, and I got a copy of your Uncle Ray's funeral. And I got some pictures of Lehman and Aunt Claudia and Aunt Ellen and Ray and me and as many picture family pictures as I could get together. I got them in there for you, Tony. Okay, but now this land, I know in the deed that I made, I mean in the will that I made with Aunt Ellen, Nathaniel's name is in it. So all of the descendants of Nathaniel has got a part of that land, no matter what nobody say. Okay, and if they made another will after this will, I'm not saying they can't do that, but if they did, I don't know anything about that. Okay, but I want y'all to go with the will that she made with me. Okay, because if there is that much land, Tony and Ebony and Keisha's children has got just as much in that land as anybody else. You understand what I'm saying, Rick? They have the same part that Lehman kids had, that Ferdinand kids had. Bubba was a son of Elms just like everybody else. Okay? And the reason I sent it to Katrina because I have been doing some other things with Katrina and we were straightening out some things and I know she would keep it and I know she'd always have it when y'all need it and she would give it to you. But I'm going to send Tony a copy of it also. All right. Now, there was 80 acres of land. There was another house which has fallen down now. It was just sitting on another acre of land, which we call a home house. Okay, that's in St. Maurice, Louisiana. But that's 80 acres of land. I don't know if it's ever gonna be worth anything. I don't know how much it's gonna be worth, but it belongs to them. It belongs to Nathan and their offsprings.
How did they, so like you mentioned plantations that like our like ancestors came from. How did they go from like literally living on a plantation to having 80 acres of land? You know what I mean?
Okay. I can tell you how they did. I saw a deed one time for the first focus that they had was bought by Lehman Teller. That was Aunt Ellen's husband. Okay. Now I don't know what plantation that Lehman came off of for her husband, but Aunt Ellen came from up in Clarence, Louisiana, Natchitoches, Louisiana, from a plantation called Baboubi. Okay. They worked for $2 a day chopping cotton and $2.50 a day for picking cotton, $2.50 a pound, 100 pounds for picking cotton. And they paid $600 for that 40 acres of land. Okay. But that's a lot of money when you're only making $2 a day. Okay. Somebody worked hard for that land. Now her second husband, who was named Tone Carr, who was actually a white guy.
A cup or a garbage can in case you got to throw them in.
Go ahead, Uncle BJ. Were you still going?
He bought his 40 acres of land by working on the railroad. That's how he bought his 40 acres of land. But when he died, Aunt Ellen's first husband left 40 acres, and the second husband.
Can you hear me now?
That makes
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Norman?
Yeah, Grandpa, we can hear you. Keep going.
You can hear me? Well, there was 40 acres of land left by each husband. And there was a house left with 1 acre of land, which I told you the house fell down. Okay?
Okay.
But what we're doing now, we're talking about the principle of the thing. We're not talking about what it's worth. I don't know what it's worth. I don't know. Someday it might be worth a lot. For what we know, what if somebody struck oil on the land? It would be worth $1 million then, wouldn't it? So we don't never know what the land is going to be worth. So whatever your inheritance is, inheritance is an inheritance. I don't care if it ain't 5 cents. That's your inheritance. That's for somebody else left for you. You understand what I'm saying over there?
Mm-hmm.
That's what somebody left for you. That's your family. They left you that. So you are entitled to it. And you can go as far back as in biblical time. You can go in the Bible. An inheritance is an inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
And you have entitlement to that inheritance as well as anybody else. If I die today tomorrow, Furman and Katrina and all, they have a certain inheritance that come from me.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Ebony, one of the things I always felt was a great part of that land story is how Aunt Ellen set it up. This is different now than what's going on now, since our cousins in New Mexico want to give everybody their own portion to pay their taxes. But back in time, when Aunt Ellen gave it to Dad and Uncle Ray and Aunt Ruth and the original core, Aunt Ellen set it up where you couldn't, and Dad's the one that told me this story when I was little, you can't sell your portion of land to anybody outside of the family.
You gonna see that?
Huh?
You're gonna see that in the will.
Oh, it's in the will?
That's in the will.
Right. So if you wanted to get out of...
When she get the will, she'll read that in there.
Right. If you wanted to get
and
out
she'll read it in there.
If you wanted to get out of ownership of your portion of the land, you have to sell it to another Jones or another Taylor. You couldn't bring an outside source in.
Right.
That lasted for years until now. We have our cousins in New Mexico who have been paying, I think, the majority of the property taxes. They want to piece it off to everybody to cover their own taxes, which I think, Katrina, you already doing, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I pay it for Grandpa's portion and Uncle Ray's portion.
Okay.
And that's only one little piece they gave it. But I'm sending Tony a copy of the tax bill for everybody paid how much land everybody got. But Nathaniel is not in there. You understand? But I'm sending that to Tony also, so she can look at it. And she can tell. And Trina got a copy of it also.
Okay, so Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. Keisha got stake in that land. Keisha got stake in that land and her brother as well, right?
That's right.
And Freddie
got a stake in the land. Got a stake in. But let me tell you now.
Wait,
where is Mama? Mama stake comes.
Hold up. Let me make sure I got it right. Ronnie and Margie got stake in that land as well, correct?
Ronnie and Margie?
Uncle Freddie's 2 kids.
Uncle Freddie's 2 kids don't have no stake in there. See, that land left on the Taylor side.
Oh, that land is on the Taylor side.
That's right. That's Freddie Jr. When Freddie Jr. passed, his kids gonna have a stake in it. When Keisha passed, Trisha kids. Right now, it's Trisha and Freddie. But they won't have a stake until Mama passed.
All right, so let me ask you something. How how do you have a stake and Uncle Ray got a stake, but Uncle Freddie don't have a stake?
Because Ellen left us in the will. 1 acre for me, 1 acre for Ray. And Ellen left us that.
Oh, so Ellen didn't leave Uncle Freddie in the will, you say?
That's right. She didn't leave Freddie.
Oh, okay.
She didn't leave Freddie in her will.
But is
me and Ray in her will.
Is Ruth
Say that again, baby.
Daniel?
From it, tell me what Ebony said.
Ebony, say that one more time.
So is Ruth in the will, but Nathaniel is not?
Nathaniel is in the will.
He is.
You read it. You get it. You read it. Nathaniel is in there.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be like 8 acres of land that goes to Nathaniel. And when Nathaniel passed, it goes to Raymond and well, it goes to Ruth, but Ruth passed, so that land goes to your father and Keisha's father. Am I calling her name right? Yeah, Keisha's father, which is Frederick. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I see. I got you.
But there are possibly 2 wills. Is that right?
Is there
Well,
one
you know, y'all might say when it's all over, you say, well, I don't know if this land is worth getting a lawyer to straighten it out. But see, that would be up to you. I think that should be a choice that you should make. I shouldn't make that choice for you. Well, Naaman kids shouldn't make that choice for you. That choice goes to Ebony and
Dad,
y'all are kids.
Dad, I'm confused. So just stay with me, all right? Just answer yes or no. Is there 1 will or 2 wills?
Yeah. For as I know, there's 1 will that made me. Now they tells me that, oh, we made another will after that, but I don't know about that, Fermi.
Okay.
I don't know if that's standing in the court. I don't know.
Okay, so to get off of this land thing for a minute, here's what needs to be done. Ebony, our cousins in New Mexico, they are the ones that we got to contact to find out more than my dad know about that land, the parcel description, how much each family member has, and what they pay or have to pay in taxes.
Yeah.
I know that Trina pays the taxes on it for my dad and my Uncle Ray, whatever portion that is. I don't know, but my cousins, our cousins in New Mexico, who have not chosen yet to join us and what we're doing, they were the ones supposedly that were paying all the taxes on this land for years because Uncle Lehman, their father, was in charge of it, so to speak. But then he passed away. So his 2 sons, Greg and Lehman Jr., they took over it. And at some point last year, they decided, yo, there's other people involved. They should know what they got and should pay for their own. That's how I got the story.
If you could help me, I guess, getting in touch with them, because I would like to obviously be paying for a portion someone else isn't.
All right, then we have to do that, Dad, down the road. We're gonna have to get the phone numbers to Ebony so she can reach out to Lehman Jr. and Greg and find out the gist of everything.
Okay. She has a right to do that, and if they don't want to answer her, then she has to go to the next step, get her lawyer. If they don't want to answer her.
Well, I don't see why they wouldn't want to answer. I don't see why they wouldn't want to answer her because.
But Greg, remember when Greg called me and I called you and told you to get everybody's phone number, and you got Keisha's phone number and Ebony's phone number and everybody, and you sent it to me?
Yeah.
I called Greg and told him I got everybody's number. Anybody's number. He never called me back.
I understand.
You
so
got the number.
I understand.
You remember that?
I understand. So now it's our turn to call. That's all right. It's our turn to call. You did your thing already.
Yep.
You did your part already. They'll answer me.
I didn't talk to Greg no more, but I called to his wife, which is Debbie, and she said, well, Grandma, those people never went to see Grandma. Grandma don't know nothing about those people. That ain't the point. That is not the point. Them kids don't know nothing about Grandma because nobody never took them to see Grandma. That has nothing to do with what's in a will. I don't care if your grandma ever seen you.
One thing don't have nothing to do with, listen, one thing don't have nothing to do with the other. I hadn't seen Keisha since she was 5. Last time I seen Keisha, she was jumping my arm at 5 years old. So Keisha can't be faulted for not knowing Aunt Ellen or Grandma, as they call her, and going to see her. Hell, me and Diane is 10 years older than Keisha. We never seen her either. It has one thing don't have nothing to do with the other.
That's right.
Nothing to do with the other. It's something that's in a will and it got passed down due to people leaving here that were loved ones of ours. So it passes down to the next generation. Go ahead, Keisha.
Okay, so I think a little bit of what Uncle BJ is saying is, for instance, like my granddad here in Florida, it was the same way. It was willed to the family, his 40 acres. But when he was living in New York, at some point, his brothers wasn't able to pay the taxes. They let it, go behind. So the state was going to then step in and take over. So he came down and paid all the taxes, and then that entire 40 acres became his, which then in turn he willed to his son. So I think that's what he's saying, like,
Now, Keisha,
there isn't a problem with that.
Keisha, that's a different situation, sis. That land was foreclosed on already. And that's why the brothers went and paid off the foreclosure and took over the property. Once it's foreclosed on and put on the steps, anybody can buy it. Anybody can buy it. So it sounds like the situation you're saying, that 40 acres was probably foreclosed on. And then somebody ran down there, wanted to save the land. They put up all the money. Now they can say, this is mine now.
Right, okay.
Because they bought it out of foreclosure. I don't think the situation with the Louisiana land, I don't think it ever went to foreclosure, because I believe from what my dad told me, our cousins in New Mexico, they've been paying for this land and the taxes for like 20 years, 20, 30 years. They just got tired of doing it now, which is fine. That's right. That's fine. Everybody can pay their own portion. The tax ain't that much no way. The tax in Louisiana on some dirt land might be $20 every 6 months.
Oh, it's less than that.
Well, Trina, you can tell me. I don't know. What is it?
It's like $5 every year.
There you go. There you go. So we got some cousins that got tired of paying $5 times 7, I guess. I don't know. But like I said, I'm going to get the number. I'm going to get it to you, Ebony. Okay. Anybody else that want to call? Diane?
Wait a minute. You should maybe put them on a Zoom like this.
Well,
I think you've been inviting them, but they don't come.
I tried that.
Oh,
they haven't joined. They haven't responded to anything yet.
Well, maybe, because you know what it is too. Sometimes to speak one-on-one, they don't know who they're talking to, and they may clam up. So you gotta be like a conference call or something with somebody that they know.
Well, why would you be clamming up if Ben Jones called and said call?
No. I'm saying if Uncle BJ called and there's other people on the line, like Ebony and you, like a conference call type thing, so that they know who they're talking to.
All right. Well, what I'm saying to you is, you're right. The attempt already was Dad call and talk to them, because he's the only one out of all of us that talked to them people. Right. And he told them what we were.
But that's right. if they would get in on these conference calls, they would get to know their people.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Dad, you tried to, you
See
offered
what I'm
us
saying,
that.
Doc?
Yeah.
This conference call, they would get to know Cheetah. They would get to know Ebony. They would get to know you and you know what I'm saying?
Well, tell
They'll
me.
know all our kinfolk.
Well, tell me what part I'm missing because you
You're not
offered them
missing it.
that.
No, you're not missing it. What we're saying is, in order to go forward, maybe you guys should do a conference call. So that you know Uncle BJ, and then tell them, look, guys, we want you to get to see the family so that you know who you're dealing with. And then we can take this off of you guys.
Right.
You know, and then maybe
Right.
they'll feel more apt to come, you know, to join on a call to see faces.
Ebony can pay her own taxes. Cheetah can pay her own taxes.
Yeah, especially if they want us to pay our own taxes.
But you never know their own taxes.
Yeah.
You see? You need to get together. They need to know Keisha. They need to know Ebony. They need to know.
Mariama, go ahead.
Do we know what the actual address of this property is? Because deeds and wills related to property are public knowledge, and we could probably get a hold of those.
Uncle has a deed.
Well, Katrina has it too, right?
Katrina has it, and your mother gonna have it because I'm going to mail it to her.
Okay.
And you can go
Yeah,
right
so
to
Mama
you
could
can
do the research on it.
Yeah, mail this to me and Dad, because if there's another will, yeah, just we'll take a look.
I'll definitely mail
you
it to you.
They're legal. They know
tell,
how to do that.
Hey, listen, I forgot we had a lawyer in the family here
Yeah,
now.
we got our own lawyers.
We got one and a half lawyers.
Now, I also have, I think it's a will. So I would like to send that as well, because it may just be a copy of one you already have, or maybe a different one. I don't know. So I'll have to send one that I have as well, so you can compare them.
Okay, cool.
That's
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else got questions for Dad? Go ahead, Tony.
It's not a question, it's a statement to Uncle BJ. I just want you to know, I want you to know that I love you and I'm so glad that you're feeling better.
I love you more.
So am I.
Amen.
I love you more. Diane, I love you more, Diane. Katrina, I love you more.
I love you to life, God Daddy.
Yes. You're my favorite person in the world, and you're my birthday twin, and you'll forever be my birthday twin. I don't know how I'm gonna celebrate birthdays without you. It's not gonna be the same.
You ain't going nowhere.
You ain't going nowhere.
But you know, when I'm your age, like it's not.
You know something? This conference that y'all having here is the best thing y'all ever did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without this, you know, we would be years and years and never would see one another.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great thing you're doing. So y'all just keep it up, okay?
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you this before I go. I want all y'all to start with the little kids like Trina's daughter and
Ronnie got.
No, I'm looking at his beautiful kid.
I want y'all to get in.
And Ariella.
Ariella.
I want y'all to get in 529 plan and start saving money for these younger kids to go to college.
Oh, look at
It's gonna cost a lot of money, so I want y'all to start saving something for them to go to college. Put it in the 529 plan, okay? I want y'all to think about it. Talk to Furman. Furman know how to do it. I don't know how to go in the computer, but he knows how to do it. So y'all talk to him about it and let everybody start contributing something to all of these kids that gotta go to college.
Amen.
Okay? I'm talking about Keisha's kids and little Freddie's kids and all of these people that got young kids, okay? You know who else I want to tell you about, and I want you to try to get him to be on the next conference call. I want to see your son and his kids, I ain't never seen them in my life.
Who you talking to?
Who you talking to?
Andre.
Oh, you talking about Andre?
You talking about Andre?
I'm talking about Andre.
Yeah.
I want y'all to get Andre in on this conference.
Because he's
Andre
working.
got kids.
Yeah, he's working. So we
Andre
got
got kids.
Yeah, Dad, Andre worked crazy hours.
Andre worked crazy. He's right since January. He's been working 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. So he's not even like, I haven't seen him. So what we gotta do is try to plan
whenever you can get him, try to get him on the conference call, so we can see him and his kids, and try to get his kids in the 529 plan too, so they can go to college. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Now that's what puts us together. That's what makes us what we are. Okay.
And Ron, I
want
just
you all to
wanna
work
say,
on that.
I'm so glad to meet you. This is my first time seeing you. And your babies. Oh, I'm just so elated. You got 2 babies?
Yeah, you was in my dad's phone book for forever. And I would see, and I always asked him, who is that? And he would tell me who it was, but we never like had the chance to like meet or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, so, and I knew of you, but I never seen you, you know? Huh?
And I want to say, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
I want you to get those kids in the plan so you can start saving some money from the college, okay? I don't care if you don't do it for $25 in a month, $50 a month, $100 a month. You get them in the 529 plan, so when they get big enough to go to college and they gonna find with that, I'm gonna go to college and you ain't got no money. You have some money and now you have something to start with, okay?
Yeah.
You start saving money for your kids to go to college right now, okay?
Okay.
This is your Uncle BJ talking.
Yes.
Don't wait until they come to you and graduating from high school and say, I want to go to college and you ain't got no money. Now that happens to a lot of black people. Don't let it happen to you. Put them in a plan right now.
You raised us
So
better than
you gotta put them in a plan.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, and that goes for all of y'all. As soon as you have a baby, you put them in the 529 plan, all right?
Yeah, I ain't have no more
And
babies.
you tell your husband, I said,
yeah, I hear you, boo.
okay.
Oh, it's just such a
Did
pleasure.
anyone else have any questions? Do you guys want to wrap it up and maybe schedule something, I don't know, next month or so?
Sure. I would love to. This has got to be monthly because
Yes.
I'm so blessed by it.
Yeah.
I really am. You know, and the education.
And tell Mom I said hi.
Wow.
Mom, I said hi.
Wow.
All right, awesome. So yeah, we'll plan for something next month. We'll see what date works for Uncle BJ, and we will plan it around that. And no, I'm so glad that everyone's talking and getting to know each other despite like us having to be separate. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Love you guys. Love you, Uncle BJ. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Happy Easter.
Nice to meet you, Ronnie.
Happy
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Amazing trip.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to Dubai.
Yes, enjoy your trip.
Yeah.
Dubai is on my way.
Let's go.
Yes. All right, darlings. Love y'all.
You look just like Dolores. You know that, Diane? You look just like your mother.
Ah,
Bye.
all right, goddaddy. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Ronnie. Bye, Ebony.
Bye, Uncle BJ. I think Uncle Furman spoke with you. I know you're busy this weekend because you're going to go visit Darius's grave, But the following weekend, would we be able to do the same thing? But like you and I be able to talk. I have so.
Just call me. Ebony, just call me. We can talk, okay?
Okay.
Call me on the phone.
Bye, Aunt Carolyn. I love you.
Bye.
Love you.
Mwah. Take care.
All right.
All right. You too.
All right, Dad. I'll see you later, man.